Honey, over the week, the messages that I bring to you, they evolve. I don't decide on Saturday night I'm going to put a sermon together for Sunday morning. I start on Monday. And all week long, I start reading the scriptures and putting together where I think maybe I should be. And you girls that have cooked cakes have had the experience of once in a while, you work with the dough and you put it all together and it goes boom. It has no cohesion. Something's wrong. You try it again, you try to ball things up, whether you're making meatballs or you're making a cake or something else. You try to knead the flour, put it together, and it goes boom. What is wrong? I had one of those weeks in getting ready for today. And then Friday, the Lord spoke to my heart. He was totally in a different direction than I was studying all week. And I don't know how you have, but I have my own experiences when God begins to speak to my heart. And it comes to me, and I was literally panicking, grabbing a blank piece of paper and a pen to write it down before I lost the thoughts that came to me. I was writing them down as fast as I could write the pen. And all of a sudden, it felt good on the inside. It felt like, hey, it's coming together. This is where you need to be. It wasn't what I thought I was going to do for today. And we all have those experiences. We all study, we prepare. And I don't know how many of you girls that have decided to put a meal together and scrap the whole thing and start it over. You may have done that. I don't know. You wouldn't want to be at my house when you watch me on meals. I don't do it like you do it, Dawn. But I manage to get enough food to eat, sit down and enjoy it. But you can't take my meals and put them on Facebook. But they feed me. And this morning I would like to have you turn with me to read 3 verses in the book of Proverbs. It's last chapter, chapter 31. And if you're using a Pew Bible, it's on page 948. And what I want to speak to you about is 3 things that money cannot buy. It's amazing all the things that you can buy if you have the right amount of money. You can buy certain cars, some houses, vacations, and pleasurable things that you can do and travel and things like that if you have the money. But there are some things that money won't touch. And I want to talk about 3 of them this morning. The 3 things you cannot buy with money. But they're 3 of the key ingredients for life as it should be. In Proverbs 31, I want to begin reading with verse 10. And I'm going to read through verse 12 and stop. It says, "A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life." I'm going to stop there. I'm not going to do the whole chapter of Proverbs. What I want to talk to you about in the 3 things that money cannot buy. First, love. You cannot go to the store or order on Amazon, "I want a pound of love. I want a package full of love." Amazon don't sell it. The second thing that I want you to look at, that I cannot find it anywhere in a catalog, is trust. You cannot buy trust anywhere. doesn't fit in a package. Trust. And the third one is respect. As we go through life, a woman wants love. She wants to know her partner loves her. She wants to know her children love her. She wants to know the social cell that she's a part of, whether it's church or something else, that she's loved. A man wants respect. He wants to know that his partner respects him, that his children respect him, that the organization or the job that he has, he's respected. But you can't buy respect. Not for sale. Anywhere. And yet these three things are at the core of what creates happiness in all of our lives. The writer of Proverbs does touch on this, on the value of an equal partnership where it is not just one, it's both people that make a home, a family unit, what it needs to be. It takes all the guidance and love of a mother. It takes the love and the steady hand of a father. I thought last night at the beginning of the program, Gary lined up the whole family last night. It was impressive. Right across the room that we were in, there were 300 people there. It was their customers from the restaurant. And at the height of that program, Gary said to me, "I want no speeches." So I wasn't allowed to give a speech. But when I saw what he had in mind, I saw why. The lineup of children, their partners, their grandchildren, their partners, their great-grandchildren, the little ones. I saw what he was stating. He was making a statement without opening his mouth. This is what Mary and I lived for. When the business was done and when they were done pouring coffee, baking in the kitchen, serving the various meals that they served day after day, Gary getting up 4 o'clock in the morning to be down there to catch the early crowd. Years ago, it used to be the fishing boats, and as time went on, that changed. But every morning he was up at 4 so he could be down there and unlock the door and have coffee ready at 5 o'clock. Too early for me. But that was his routine. Ever since they opened their business. But behind all of that activity was more than that. It was a man and a woman that, I hate to use the word vicious, but it was a tenacity to the commitment they had to their family. Everything they made went into that family. They helped their children where they needed it. They didn't take away from them the responsibility of doing what they needed to do, their jobs, their things, but where they needed a little help, they helped them to encourage them, to bless their lives. I looked at the grandchildren, and I looked at the love that they put into every one of those grandchildren. Had the privilege of watching a number of them grow up from little kids. Every one of them worked in that restaurant, learned how to work, learned how to show up, be dependable, all the things that you need in life. But more than that, it was something I saw in a dynamic that was the way it should be. But unfortunately, in many families, it's unique. And that was the love of a father and a grandfather. every child and grandchild knew the depth at which they were valued by those parents and grandparents. I thought about the activities that family had and all the places they were and the things in their lives to do. There wasn't one of them, not one in that family, called back and said, I'm too busy to come. I can't get away. I won't be there. Sorry. Every member of that family was there. And at the beginning, Gary didn't want to give a speech. He called his children up by name. He didn't say, okay, kids, you get over here. Okay, grandkids, you get over here. Every one of them was called by their individual name. You know why? Because he knew their names and he loved their names, and the names meant something to him. Called them up and their partners. The crowd just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger up front. He didn't need to make a speech. He made a statement. These were the people that him and Mary cared about. Before they did that, Mary stood up and gave her testimony. Raised her hand to the air and said, they're here by the grace of God. The whole crowd reacted. In spite of their business community, neither one of them were afraid to say what they really believed in, the God they worshiped, and what they valued, and part of the core values of who they are and what they are. Love. Love's a very interesting thing. It doesn't have a dimension. Love does not have, well, it's 2 feet wide and 3 feet tall. Love, well, I have love in my heart. Well, it doesn't fit the dimension of the left ventricle of the heart. Love's invisible. Can't be weighed. Can't be measured. But it can be felt. You know when love is there and love is not there. There is not a marriage out there without love being the exchange between two people as they plan to begin their lives together. It doesn't work without love. You can't have a happy home without love. You can have hatred. You can have tension. You can have arguments. You can have everybody wanting to do their own thing and pulling against each other. But you can't have a happy home without love. Love is stronger than fear. The two things that control us in life is love and fear. Some people, as you talk to them, they tell you about what they're afraid of in life. I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, and I'm afraid to do this or that. Other people tell you what they love. And love is a very powerful, powerful, powerful force. For love, people will give their lives because of love to save someone they do love. It's hard to inspire somebody without their feeling your love. You can lecture to people, you can tell them all day long what they need to do, but you'll never motivate them without love. Its love is a drawing force. It's not a driving force. It doesn't push you into things. It draws you into things. It brings the best out of you mentally, spiritually, and physically. You do it because you love. Somebody said, a man changes for one woman in his life. I don't know if that's true or not. Somebody made the statement saying if a man does not change for you, you got the wrong man because he really doesn't love you. A man that cares about you, cares about what you think, what you feel, what your values are. One of the things that I loved about Pat, she drew the best out of me. She made me want to be better. And as I looked at this family here, Gary and Mary, their children, their grandchildren, he drew the best out of all of them. I talked to them and asked them what they were doing, where they were going, where they were living, what they had decided to do in life. Every one of them had gone far and beyond what I expected them to do. Love. They were loved. They had value because somebody put the value of love in them. One thing I've discovered, a man can never outlove a woman. If a man provides a house for a woman, she gives him back a home. If a man buys groceries for his family, she gives him back a meal. You cannot outlove a woman. God made us that way. That we are our happiest when we love and when we're giving. Love will meet any challenge in life. Whatever life throws at you, love will meet that challenge. Love does not ask the cost. Everything I buy. I went to pick up hearing aids the other day, and they had to sit me down when they handed me the cost. Oh, my. Medicare and Blue Cross, they don't cover those things. I had to look at the cost. I heard that number. But love does not count the cost. If you love someone, they only have to mention to you something they need and you're all over it. Why? Because they made you? No. Because you wanted to. Love. The greatest power that's in the world. When we describe God, God is love. And God so loved the world that he gave, which is what love does, it gives. He gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him, the Son, should not perish, that's given to again, have eternal life. Love. It's the motivational thing for everything good that is in life. Love gives. The second thing I want to look at today is trust. Any couple that's gone through a divorce discovers in life something they never realized. The one thing that is destroyed in a divorce is trust. What is trust? Trust is that something of knowing what the other person is going to do. Trust is something that can predict the response of the person it trusts. This person will never do me harm. This person will never do me wrong. I can trust him or her. They have a good heart. They have character. You can trust them. Anytime you do business with a bank or any other institution, the stack of papers that you have to sign is unbelievable. You know why? The issue is trust. in case they can't trust you, in case you don't do what you said you're going to do. They try to protect themselves in 7 different ways. Trust. Songwriter wrote the song, Trust and Obey, because there's no other way. The one thing that you found Jesus Christ doing in his ministry everywhere was trying to get people to believe in him, to trust him. God today is still trying to get the world to believe in him and to trust him that he means what he says, he can do what he says, he is what he says. Trust is something you cannot buy. Cannot buy a pound of trust. Can't wrap it up in a package. It's invisible. But it's one of the most real things that you'll ever feel in your life is trust between you and another person. Trust is an unquestionable reaction to an experience in life. Trust is dependable. Trust will never let you down. Trust will do the right thing. I looked at the Hooks family. I said, there's a lot of trust here between Gary, Mary, and this family. I never once heard Gary raise his voice or force one of the children or grandchildren to do something, force them. I never saw him face down one of the kids because they wanted to go against him. First of all, he loved them, and he owned part of the real estate inside their hearts. Second of all, they trusted him because 100% of that man loved his family and loved those children. And him and Mary did what they could to surround them with the best environment they knew how to give them. Trust. And the third thing I want you to look at is respect. As I mentioned earlier, in life, a girl wants love. Wants to be told by her partner again and again, I love you. She wants love. Sees a sponge and you're the faucet. You fill her up with your love. And she gives that love back many times over to her children, to you, to her home, to everything that she loves. She gives back. One thing a man wants can't be bought. He wants respect. He wants to have a family that looks up to him. He wants to have a family that listens to him. He wants to have a family that knows who he is. How many children are growing up today that don't even know the names of their grandparents, let alone have a one-on-one relationship in which the grandparents know every one of you by name? You know why? They've taken the time to be with you. I think of the times that Gary and Mary snuck away from the restaurant and went out of state because one of the grandchildren were in an athletic event and they wanted to attend it. They wanted to show that child that even though they'd gone to college and gone away, they were loved. I don't think the audience knew they were there, but their grandchild did. They knew they were loved. So many in the world thought they were somebody, not just anybody. And today those children have grown up to prove that love, trust, and respect have values. Not something they hear in church, something they live by. It was the principles in that family's life. I mentioned last night of dreams. 5 centuries ago, a young black minister who was part of a black movement back in the 60s, stood up and gave a speech that has immortalized him. His name was Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I have a dream. In our decade, a housemaid, 47 years old, lacking many of the social skills that you may have thought that she may have acquired at that age, but she didn't have them, appeared on the Britain's Got Talents. They were ready to hit the buzzers and sit her down before she even got started. Then she sang. She sang, "I Dreamed a Dream." 20 seconds into that song, it changed her life. Susan, can't think of her last name right now. Yes, you got it. Her name is known on both sides of the ocean when she began to sing, "I Dreamed a Dream." Some 54 years ago, an ex-Marine and his bride left Pennsylvania and came to Newport. They had a dream. And that dream, as it moved on, they got sighted into a place called Handy Lunch. An older gentleman owned it who wanted to retire. And he had taken a liking to Gary and Mary. And he wanted to work things out so that they could buy it and run it. And it became what we knew of it today, Gary's Handy Lunch. I've gone to it for the 50 years that I've been here. There's a whole bunch of people on this island that are going to start going through withdrawal. Because any time they thought, well, let's go to the Handy and have lunch, it ain't there. I jokingly said that when I drove my van, I had trouble with the alignment on that van because the closer it got to Handy Lunch, it started to pull to the left. Wanted to stop. More like the driver had the problem, not the van. But I enjoyed going there. Not once in 50 years did I ever walk out of that place hungry. They fed me. Once in a while, I'd go in and sit down on the left end of the counter, which was the end that you walked into the back kitchen. They had a kitchen behind the one that you saw out front. And I heard the word that got sent back to where Gary worked. He worked the back kitchen. "This is for Rick." Oh, boy. A few minutes later, some hands that are now crippled with age come out and dropped a plate on the counter in front of me. Said nothing, just dropped the plate. I looked at the plate. There was an extra piece of fish. There was some extra coleslaw. The pile of mashed potatoes was a little bigger than it should have been. You know why? Food is love. That man didn't dish out just food. He dished out love. Didn't say it. Didn't give me a speech. Never once said, "Hey, Rick, I love you." He showed it. They killed me with kindness. Once in a while, Mary would show up. It was her day to make pies. And she had made some beautiful desserts. Once the word was out that a fresh pie just came out of the oven, people were almost fighting over a chance to have a piece of it. That thing got gobbled up like an eagle over a fresh piece of meat. Didn't last long. If you happened to get in line to get one of them, you were lucky. What was it? Love. It was love. They had the challenges that every family has in meeting the responsibilities of life. They had their good days. They had the bad days. Days when they felt good. Days when they didn't feel good. Days when life was going good at home. Days when it wasn't. You never saw it in the restaurant. Never once did I see an argument between two waitresses in the restaurant. Never once was I given in 50 years an attitude, and they dropped the food in front of me with an attitude. I never saw that once. That's saying a lot over 50 years. I saw the grandchildren from little tykes as they became bigger tykes, and then they became teenagers, and then they went to college. They took turns working in the restaurant, especially in the summertime when school was out and the restaurant was extra busy with the traffic of tourists coming in. It took extra hands to keep up with all the details. They did their jobs with dignity. Never once did they say to their grandfather, "Hey, Gramps, I ain't doing that." Not once. Not once. They no sooner did Gary have the words out, "I need you over here," and you saw their footsteps moving. Not because he made them. They loved him. They respected him. He owned real estate inside those children, and he still does. Gary made the statement to somebody that he's looking forward to the years in his retirement of spending time with his grandchildren. The scripture says sometimes our lives are 70, and by reason of strength, sometimes God will give us 80, and sometimes he gives us more. They've reached their 80s. God has blessed them. They're not kids anymore, but they're as dedicated to what's in front of them as they are to the memories of their past because of the children that they love. 3 things you cannot buy in life: love, trust, and respect. I feel honor and privilege to be able to have watched the dynamic of this family over the years and see how much love has threaded its way through the hearts and the lives of everybody in that family. Gary and Mary have my respect. I pray that God gives them time to enjoy the retirement that they have worked so hard for. And I pray for the family that they'll continue to make good choices. And I know they're old enough now to give back the love that Gary and Mary have put into them. Let's stand together.